Space stretched endlessly around the small Veridian ship. Stars twinkled like distant fires in the cold dark. The ship moved slowly through the void, its hull scarred and beaten from battle. Inside, the air smelled stale and faintly metallic. The hum of the engines was the only sound. Commander Voltal sat in the dim light of the control room. His green skin was pale, almost gray. His eyes, usually sharp and bright, looked tired. He stared at the screens, watching for any sign of rescue. The battle had left them trapped and alone. Near him, Vashdor, the ship's chief scientist, checked the life support systems. His fingers moved quickly over the controls. Sweat beaded on his brow. The ship's oxygen was running low. The mother and child, hidden deep in the ship's hold, needed help fast. Meanwhile, on a nearby human ship, Commander Amanda Sullivan watched the scanners. The Veridian ship blinked faintly on the screen. It looked weak, like a wounded animal in the dark. She had orders to destroy enemy ships. But something about this one gave her pause. She remembered the stories of the Veridians. A proud species, fierce in war but gentle with their young. Could she risk disobeying orders? Could she save lives instead of taking them? The ship's alarms suddenly blared, snapping her back to the moment. Back on the Veridian ship, the mother clung to her child. Their breaths were shallow, their bodies frail. The child's small hand grasped the mother's finger tightly. Their eyes closed against the pain and fear. They waited in silence, hoping against hope. The air grew colder, thinner. Voltal knew their time was short. He looked at Vashdor and nodded. The scientist began to prepare the emergency beacon. It was a desperate move. Sending a signal might draw human attention. It might also bring destruction. Suddenly, the beacon sent a pulse into space. The signal was weak but clear. Amanda's ship picked it up immediately. She stared at the screen, heart pounding. The signal's pattern was not aggressive. It was a cry for help. Amanda made her decision. She ordered her ship to change course. The engines roared to life as they raced toward the Veridian vessel. The stars blurred past the windows, cold and hard. Her crew wondered why she acted against direct orders. Brandon Pike, a young soldier on Amanda's ship, watched the approaching vessel. He felt a strange mix of fear and hope. He had trained for war, for battle. But now, he saw something else. He saw a chance for mercy. The Veridian ship drifted closer. Its lights flickered weakly. The mother and child waited, unaware of the rescue coming their way. The cold of space pressed in on them like a heavy blanket. Time was running out. Amanda's voice echoed over the comms. "Prepare for boarding," she said quietly. "We're going in to save lives." Her words hung in the air like a promise of hope amid the darkness of war. Outside, the stars shone cold and distant. Inside, lives balanced on a knife's edge. The war crime that was about to happen would become humanity's greatest victory. But no one knew it yet. The story was just beginning. The ship's hull creaked under the weight of the dark void. Lights flickered softly, casting long shadows in the narrow corridor. Amanda Sullivan moved with calm purpose. Her boots echoed lightly on the metal floor. She had seen many battles, but this mission felt different. The air smelled faintly of burnt circuits and recycled oxygen. It was cold, but not harsh. Outside the viewport, stars blinked silently. The endless black stretched on, vast and deep. Amanda's mind traced back to the moment they found the Veridian mother and child. Suddenly, the ship's alarm blared sharply. A warning flashed across the console in red. Brandon Pike was already at the controls, fingers flying over the buttons. Amanda's gaze snapped to the screen. The Veridian ship systems flickered in and out, failing fast. Meanwhile, in the medical bay, the alien mother lay on the cold table. Her scales shimmered faintly. The child clung weakly to her side. Amanda felt a tug deep inside. These creatures were fragile now. Yet, she sensed something strong hiding beneath their skin. Vashdor, the alien scientist, hovered anxiously nearby. His eyes darted from the monitors to the mother and child. "Their biology," he whispered, voice shaky. "It is unlike anything I have seen." Amanda stepped closer, curious despite the tension. The mother's chest rose and fell with slow, shallow breaths. Amanda reached out, hesitating. Her hand hovered just above the alien's skin. It looked soft, fragile even, but when she touched it, something strange happened. The skin felt colder than expected. Voltal, the alien commander, appeared behind Vashdor. His expression was unreadable. He watched Amanda carefully. "You see it now?" he said quietly. The truth beneath the flesh. Amanda's brow furrowed. She pressed her fingers harder. The skin gave way less than she expected. The child stirred, weak fingers curling around the mother's. Amanda saw a flicker of bright blue beneath the surface of the skin. It pulsed faintly like a heartbeat beneath armor. Was this some form of natural protection? Something alive inside? Meanwhile, alarms continued to echo through the ship. Brandon called out, "The Veridian vessel is unstable. We have minutes before it collapses." Amanda nodded, torn between urgency and fascination. She could not look away. Vashdor stepped forward, voice trembling. "This is not skin as you know it. It is a living barrier. An iron flesh that shields their core." Amanda's eyes widened. That sounded impossible. Yet here it was, beneath her fingertips. Suddenly, the mother's body tensed. Bright veins glowed beneath the surface. The metal, like skin, rippled, almost like breathing metal. Amanda pulled her hand back, startled. She had never seen anything like it. The alien's body was part machine, part living creature. Voltal's voice dropped low. "Our kind evolved this way to survive endless wars. Our skin is both shield and weapon." Amanda felt a chill. These beings carried war in their very blood. But now, they were broken, vulnerable. Brandon's voice broke through her thoughts again. "We need to move. The ship's core is failing." Amanda turned to him, then back to the aliens. They could not leave these creatures to die. The medical bay filled with the hum of machines supporting the mother and child. Amanda watched the monitors as data streamed in. The iron flesh reacted to the healing nanites. It shifted, melted slightly, then hardened again. The skin was alive, adapting. Vashdor's eyes shone with a strange mixture of hope and fear. "If your medicine works, we might live." Amanda smiled faintly. She felt the weight of her choice settle on her shoulders. Outside the bay, the corridors shook as the ship's structure faltered. Sparks flew from broken panels. The smell of burning metal filled the air. The crew moved quickly, securing equipment and preparing for emergency departure. Meanwhile, Amanda studied the mother's face. It was tired, but peaceful. She saw the child's small chest rise with a steady rhythm now. The iron flesh had healed enough to protect them, for the moment. Voltal approached Amanda quietly. "You have committed a war crime," he said softly. "You saved our enemies, against all orders." Amanda met his gaze without flinching. "No," she replied. "I saved life." His lips tightened, but he said no more. Brandon joined them, breathless from his tasks. "The ship won't hold much longer. We have to evacuate soon." Amanda nodded firmly. She gave one last look to the mother and child. "We'd take them with us. No one gets left behind." The ship's engines groaned as power drained. Outside, the stars blurred past in streaks. Amanda took a deep breath. This moment marked the start of something new. Something no one had expected. The iron flesh was more than armor. A sign of a hidden strength beneath fragile appearances. Amanda felt hope stirring. If humanity could see this, maybe peace was possible after all. Suddenly, a sharp jolt threw the crew off balance. Alarms screamed louder than before. The ship's core was failing faster than predicted. Brandon shouted, "Brace for impact." Amanda grabbed the mother's hand gently. The iron flesh felt warm now, pulsing with life. She whispered, "Hold on. We're coming through this." The child opened bright eyes, glowing faintly beneath the strange skin. The ship shuddered violently, then stabilized. Lights flickered back on. The core was damaged but still alive. Amanda looked around. The crew was shaken but ready. Voltal nodded slowly. "Your mercy has saved us all." He turned away. But Amanda caught the gratitude in his eyes. This was the first step toward something greater. The iron flesh beneath the skin had revealed a truth no one expected. Mercy and strength could exist together. Humanity's greatest victory was not in war, but in saving a life that few dared to protect. The ship moved forward into the unknown. Hope burned bright against the dark void. Amanda knew the story was far from over, but for the first time she saw a path toward peace. And that path began here, with iron flesh and a single act of mercy. The ship drifted through the endless black of space. Stars flickered like distant lanterns. Amanda Sullivan sat still, feeling the hum beneath her. The air smelled faintly of metal and recycled oxygen. Outside the viewport, the wreckage of the Veridian cruiser hung in silence, a ghostly reminder of the battle that had just ended. Inside the damaged ship, silence pressed down like a weight. The emergency lights cast a soft red glow. Shadows shifted as crews moved quietly, tending to the wounded. Amanda's eyes stayed fixed on the containment chamber. Inside, the dying alien mother and her child lay still. Their breaths came shallow, almost fading. Meanwhile, Amanda's mind raced. She thought back to the moment she pulled them aboard. The smell of burning fuel mixed with blood had filled the air. The mother's eyes had met hers. Fear and hope tangled in one look. That look stayed with Amanda. It stirred something deep inside her. Suddenly, alarms blared through the ship. The emergency lights flashed brighter. A sharp warning tone echoed through the corridors. Amanda's heart thumped hard. She stood quickly, pushing her chair aside. The control panel blinked urgently. Sensors detected movement below decks. Brandon Pike appeared beside her, his face tight with concern. "Hostiles boarding," he said, voice low but steady. She grabbed her rifle, feeling its familiar weight. The ship was small but fierce. Every corridor could become a battleground. They moved through the narrow hallways. The metal walls hummed under their feet. Amanda's breath came steady. She scanned each corner, eyes sharp. The smell of burnt circuits and oil filled the air. Somewhere deep inside, the ship groaned as if alive and tired. A soft thud echoed behind them. Brandon whispered, "They're close." Amanda's grip tightened on her rifle. The enemy was smart, silent. They didn't expect mercy. But Amanda's mind was unyielding. She remembered the mother's face, the child's fragile form. They had shown her a new way. Mercy was not weakness. The corridor ended in a blast door. Amanda placed her hand on the panel. A hiss sounded as it slid open. Beyond lay the containment chamber. The mother stirred slightly. The child's eyes fluttered open, small and bright. Amanda felt a surge of hope. This fragile life depended on her. Suddenly, the blast door behind them shook with impact. The enemy pushed forward, their weapons ready. Amanda raised her rifle. The first shot rang out sharp and loud. The battle had begun. Every breath counted. The enemy moved fast, but Amanda and Brandon held their ground. The confined space turned the fight into a deadly dance. Shouts mixed with cries. Amanda's heart pounded. She fired again, steady and sure. Brandon covered her flank, his eyes scanning constantly. Meanwhile, the mother in the chamber coughed softly. She looked at Amanda with a faint smile. The child reached out a tiny hand. Amanda's resolve deepened. She would protect them. Suddenly, the enemy breached the door beside the chamber. They poured in, their faces grim and determined. Amanda stepped forward, shielding the mother and child. Her voice rang out firm and clear. "Stop! We are not your enemy." The attackers hesitated. Confusion flickered in their eyes. Amanda could see the conflict. They expected to kill without question. Instead, they faced mercy. A strange power filled the air. The mother's eyes glowed faintly. The child's hand shone with a soft blue light. Amanda felt warmth spread through her. The ship seemed to hold its breath. The enemy lowered their weapons, uncertainty growing. Brandon moved beside Amanda, alert but cautious. The battle paused, hanging on a fragile thread. In that moment, Amanda saw more than enemies. She saw trapped souls, lost and afraid. The Veridians' minds were strong, shaped by war and fear. Yet something in this small act of kindness reached them. It cut through their armor of hatred. Suddenly, one attacker stepped forward, his weapon lowered fully. His voice was rough but clear. "Why do you spare us?" he asked. Amanda met his gaze, steady and honest. "Because mercy saves us all," she said simply. The man looked to his comrades, then back at Amanda. Slowly, weapons dropped to the floor. The tension dissolved like mist. The corridor filled with quiet sighs and soft movements. The war crime that had sparked this fight began to fade in the face of something new. Amanda's heart swelled. She realized the full meaning of their act. Saving the mother and child was not just kindness. It was a declaration. Humanity would fight, yes, but never without compassion. That was their greatest strength. Meanwhile, the mother opened her eyes fully. She whispered something in her native tongue. The child reached out, touching Amanda's hand. A bond formed, unseen but strong. The ship hummed with renewed life. Hope returned to this corner of space. Outside, the stars continued to shine cold and indifferent. Inside, a new light flickered. It burned quietly but fiercely. It was the light of the unyielding mind. The mind that chose mercy over hatred. That chose life over destruction. Amanda felt the weight of history settle on her shoulders. This moment would change everything. The war crime would be remembered not as shame, but as the spark of humanity's greatest victory. A victory born from the unyielding will to protect and forgive. The ship moved steadily forward, carrying the fragile lives within. The battle was not over, but the fight had changed. Mercy was their weapon now, and it was powerful beyond any guns or shields. Amanda looked once more at the mother and child. She smiled, quiet and sure. The unyielding mind had won, and humanity's true strength was just beginning to shine. The cold metal walls of the human ship hummed softly. Lights flickered with a steady pulse. The air smelled faintly of ionized steel and recycled oxygen. Amanda Sullivan stood by the viewport. She watched the dark void outside, peppered with distant stars. The silence pressed in on her, heavy and deep. Suddenly, the hatch hissed open behind her. Brandon Pike stepped in, tired but alert. His face held the grime of battle. Yet his eyes burned with a fierce light. He carried the small Veridian child, fragile and trembling. The boy's skin shimmered faintly in the dim light. The child's eyes, wide and innocent, searched the human captain's face. Amanda's heart tightened. This little life was the key to everything, a symbol of mercy in a war that knew none. Meanwhile, the ship's alarms blinked quietly. An echo of battles passed. The war had taken much. But here hope lingered still. Brandon lowered the child carefully onto the medbay bed. The soft mattress cradled the alien's small body. Machines beeped as they connected. A gentle hum filled the room, soothing and steady. Amanda moved closer, her breath shallow. She watched the boy's chest rise and fall with each fragile breath. Outside the ship, the stars continued their slow dance. The vast emptiness stretched on endlessly. Yet inside, life clung stubbornly to the edge of oblivion. Amanda felt a fierce protectiveness swell inside her. This child was not just an enemy alien. He was a living being saved by her hand. Suddenly, the ship shuddered. A deep vibration rolled through the hull. Warning lights flashed red. Amanda spun toward the control room. Brandon followed, his pace quick but steady. The distant rumble grew louder. It was not engine noise. It was something else, something dangerous. The ship's sensors buzzed urgently. Voltal's fleet closed in fast. The enemy commander sought to finish what they had started. Amanda's fingers flew over the console. She activated shields, bracing for impact. The tension in the room tightened like a drawn wire. Outside, enemy ships emerged like dark shadows. Their sleek forms cut through the starfield. Voltal's voice crackled over the comms, cold and unforgiving. "Surrender the child. It belongs to us." Amanda's jaw clenched. She refused to give in. This child was under her protection now. She could hear Brandon's steady breathing beside her. Together, they prepared for the fight to come. The first blast hit the ship's outer hull. A shower of sparks exploded across the viewports. The ship rocked violently. Alarms blared with urgent cries. The crew moved with practiced precision. Each one knew the stakes. Every second mattered. Inside the medbay, the child stirred. His small hand reached out instinctively. Amanda glanced back, seeing the fragile life she vowed to defend. Her resolve hardened. No matter the cost, she would keep him safe. Meanwhile, the ship's automated defenses flared to life. Pulses of energy arced outward, striking enemy vessels. Explosions bloomed like deadly flowers in the void. The battle raged, fierce and relentless. Every second felt stretched, heavy with danger. Brandon manned a turret, his hands steady despite the chaos. His eyes scanned the enemy formations. He fired with sharp precision. Each hit was a statement. They would not bow to fear or hatred. Suddenly, an enemy ship broke through the defenses. It sped toward the medbay with deadly intent. Amanda saw it on the sensors. She shouted a warning. "Brace for impact." The ship shook violently as the attacker rammed the hull. Panels exploded, showers of sparks flew. The medbay's door groaned under the strain. Brandon moved swiftly, shielding the child with his body. Amanda rushed to secure the damaged bulkhead. The air filled with the sharp scent of ozone and burning metal. The child cried out softly, frightened but unharmed. Amanda's voice was calm, steady. "You're safe. We're here." Outside, the battle intensified. More enemy ships closed in, relentless in their assault. She knew this fight was about more than survival. It was about what humanity stood for. The will to protect life, even when it meant risking everything. Suddenly, the ship's communications lit up. A strange signal pulsed through the static. Voltal's voice came again, but different this time. There was hesitation in his tone. "Why do you protect them?" "They are your enemy." Amanda's heart thudded. She answered inside her mind, not aloud. "Because life is sacred, no matter where it comes from." The child reached out again, small fingers curling around Brandon's. The simple touch spoke louder than words. The fragile link between two species torn by war. Meanwhile, inside the control room, Amanda made a decision. She ordered the ship to jump to hyperspace. It was risky with the enemy so close. But it was their only chance. The engines roared as the ship strained to escape. A brilliant flash filled the viewport. The stars stretched into streaks of light. The ship lurched forward, slipping through the darkness. The enemy fleet was left behind, frustrated and powerless. Silence returned, soft and deep. Amanda sank into her chair, exhausted but alive. Brandon looked to the child, who now slept peacefully. The medbay hummed gently, a quiet sanctuary amid the chaos. The war had not yet ended. But this moment was a victory, a revelation that hate could be overcome, that even in the darkest times a human heart could choose mercy. The child's life was a seed of hope, a reminder that the future could be different. Amanda gazed out at the stars once more. She felt something new, faith. Faith in humanity's capacity to rise above fear. The ship moved steadily through the void, its course set for safety and healing. The battle-scarred crew worked quietly, their spirits lifted. They had faced destruction and hate, but they had also found strength and compassion. And in that strength, they found victory. The stars outside twinkled softly, as if watching over them. The universe was vast and cold. But inside this small ship, a light burned bright. A light born from the heart that defies hate. Amanda Sullivan knew this was only the beginning. The true war was for the soul of humanity itself. But now, she held hope tightly in her hands. And that hope would guide them through the darkness ahead. The cold void of space stretched endlessly. Stars flickered like distant candles, indifferent to the chaos below. The Veridian fleet moved like shadows, sleek and deadly. Their ships cut through the dark, engines humming a dangerous lullaby. Meanwhile, the human fleet bristled with weapons, ready to fight for survival. Amanda Sullivan stood on the bridge of the Resolute. Her eyes scanned the starfield, sharp and steady. Sweat dripped down her temple. The air smelled faintly of metal and recycled oxygen. Around her, the crew prepared for battle. The tension was thick, almost tasteable. Suddenly, alarms blared. Red lights flashed across the control panels. The Veridian flagship appeared at the edge of sensor range, a massive beast with shining armor plates. Voltal's voice crackled over the comms, cold but commanding. "You will surrender now, humans. Your mercy ends here." Amanda's jaw tightened. She knew surrender meant death or worse. Yet, she felt a strange flicker inside. A memory of the mother and child they had saved. That moment of unexpected kindness. It was a fragile hope amid the storm. The battle began with a deafening roar. Lasers streaked through space like bolts of lightning. Explosions blossomed in the void, bright as distant suns. The Resolute shook as enemy fire hit its shields. Brandon Pike gripped his rifle, eyes wide with focus. His breath came fast. The smell of burnt circuitry filled the cabin. Amanda ordered the counterattack. "Fire all batteries! Target their engines!" The crew obeyed, their movements sharp and practiced. The human ships darted forward, weaving between enemy blasts. The dogfight was chaotic. Ships danced and weaved, smoke and sparks trailing behind. Meanwhile, Voltal's flagship pressed the attack. It aimed to crush the Resolute before mercy could take root. But Amanda had a plan. She directed a squadron to flank the enemy. "Use the asteroid field. They won't follow us there," she said, voice calm but fierce. The smaller ships slipped into shadows between rocks and ice. The Veridians hesitated, their sleek forms too large for the tight spaces. The humans struck from unexpected angles. Lasers cut through enemy hulls. Explosions lit the darkness with sudden bursts. Suddenly, a cry echoed over the comms. "Commander! The hostage ship is under attack." It was the vessel carrying the Veridian mother and child. Her heart pounded loudly in her ears. The moment of mercy was at risk. She ordered Brandon to lead a rescue team. "Get to that ship. Protect them at all costs." Brandon nodded without hesitation. He rallied his squad and charged into the fray. The air outside the ship was thick with smoke and burning metal. Inside the hostage ship, the mother clung to her child. Their faces were pale, eyes wide with fear. The child's breathing was shallow. The ship's lights flickered, warning of failing systems. Brandon arrived just in time. He shielded them with his body as enemy fire tore past. The battle raged around them. Brandon's squad fought fiercely, buying time. They moved methodically, clearing corridors and securing exits. The smell of burning wires mixed with the salty tang of fear. Outside, Amanda coordinated the fleet, weaving through enemy fire to provide cover. Meanwhile, Voltal's voice came over the comms again. "You fight well, human, but this act of mercy will be your undoing." Amanda clenched her fists. The war was not just about weapons and ships. It was about what they protected, what they chose to be. The Resolute's engines roared as it moved to intercept the Veridian flagship. Amanda knew this could be the turning point. The ships collided with a thunderous crash, metal grinding against metal. Sparks flew like fireworks. Both crews fought hand to hand in the cramped corridors. Brandon's squad reached the escape pods. The mother and child were weak but alive. He helped them aboard, checking their vitals. The child's small hand gripped his finger. A quiet moment in the chaos. The smell of antiseptic replaced smoke for a brief second. Amanda ordered the launch. The pods shot away from the wreckage, tiny beacons of hope in the violent night. The flagship began to crumble, systems failing. Voltal's last message was a bitter curse. "You may have won this battle, but the war is far from over." Suddenly, the Veridian fleet hesitated. The mother and child's survival showed them something unexpected. The act of mercy had broken a cycle of hatred. The enemy ships began to pull back, retreating into the darkness. Amanda watched them go, breath heavy but steady. The cost had been high, many lives lost on both sides. Yet, amidst the ruin, a fragile peace took root. The war crime, the act that should have been unforgivable, became humanity's greatest victory. Brandon sat beside the mother, offering quiet comfort. He felt a strange pride mixed with sorrow. This was why they fought, not for conquest or power, for mercy even in war. The stars outside shone cold and distant, but inside a small light burned bright. Humanity had shown what it meant to fight with heart, to protect not just their own, but even those they once called enemies. Amanda stood tall on the bridge. Her mind raced, thinking of the future. The war was not over, but something had changed. The war crime had forged a new path, one where mercy could become a weapon more powerful than any gun. The hum of the Resolute filled the silence. Amanda whispered a silent vow. They would keep fighting, not just for victory, but for the hope that mercy could save them all. The battle was fierce, but humanity's greatest triumph was still ahead. And in that moment, with stars as witnesses, a new chapter began. The cold void of space suddenly felt less empty. The dying Veridian mother and child now rested on the human ship. Amanda Sullivan watched the stars streak by through the thick glass of the command deck. The endless black was still there. But now it held something new: hope. The quiet hum of the ship's engines filled the room. The steady rhythm was a soft reminder of life. Life that had almost slipped away in the depths of that forgotten sector. Amanda thought about the long journey back home. The waiting faces, the questions, the fear. Yet inside her a calm grew. This act of mercy was more than a rescue. Meanwhile, in the ship's medical bay, Brandon Pike moved carefully. He adjusted the life support for the Veridian child. The small alien's pale skin shimmered faintly under the cold lights. Brandon could smell the sterile scent of the room mixed with something strange. Something faintly sweet. It was the scent of new beginnings, he guessed. The child's breathing was shallow but steady. Outside, the stars blurred into streaks. The ship cut through the void like a blade. Voltal and Vashdor observed everything from their quarters. The alien commander's dark eyes reflected a mix of anger and awe. He had seen his people's pride shattered and rebuilt in moments. The scientist Vashdor scribbled notes furiously. This act broke every rule they once held sacred. Suddenly, the ship's alert system beeped softly. Amanda snapped to attention. The message was simple but powerful. A call from the United Earth Council. They had received the transmission detailing the rescue and the circumstances. Instead, there was a new plan forming. Humanity's decision to save the Veridian mother and child had changed everything. The war, once fueled by fear and hatred, now had a fragile chance to end. Diplomats would arrive soon. The possibility of peace was no longer a distant dream. Amanda sighed and looked out once more. The stars were no longer distant pinpricks. They were beacons of a fresh start. The cold inside her chest warmed. She thought of the mother's quiet strength and the child's fragile hope. Both had survived a nightmare. Both were now symbols. Brandon, still in the medical bay, glanced at the child's tiny hand. It curled weakly around his finger, a promise that kindness could shine even in the darkest places. He smiled softly, understanding the weight of this moment. This was more than a mission. Meanwhile, the ship's crew gathered in the common area. Faces tired but bright with purpose. Stories of the past conflict weren't erased, but they no longer defined them. There was talk of rebuilding trust, of sharing knowledge, of learning from mistakes. The crew knew the road ahead would be long, but it was filled with light. Outside, the stars shifted as the ship changed course. The journey home was underway. Amanda's mind raced with plans and hopes. She imagined a future where humans and Veridians walked side by side, where old wounds healed and new alliances formed. The war crime that had sparked fear had now sparked unity. Suddenly, a soft chime sounded in the command deck. Amanda's console blinked with a message from the Veridian Council. It expressed gratitude and tentative friendship. The words were simple but powerful. They recognized the humanity in the act. They saw the courage it took to do what many would not. The ship's engines thrummed steadily. The hum was a song of survival. Amanda felt it in her bones. This was more than victory. A chance to rewrite history between stars. In the quiet moments before sleep, Amanda closed her eyes. She pictured the mother and child safe and healing. She felt the weight of the war crimes that had nearly destroyed everything. But now she also felt the weight of hope. The hope that one act of mercy could change everything. The stars outside twinkled softly through the night. The vast darkness was still there. So was the promise of peace. The ship moved steadily forward. Back to Earth, back to home. Back to a future where humanity's greatest victory was not in battle. A new dawn was rising between the stars, and humanity was ready to meet it.